Nice. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live chat. Hopefully, everything is working properly. Looks like YouTube's up and running. We already have someone writing Spanish. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at it. In fact, I took Spanish in high school. It was so bad I made the teacher retire. I already butcher one language, which is English, and Spanish is just another one. So, whatever you're saying, try to go to Google and translate to English. I don't know, something about the United States. I don't know. I knew that. I saw United, and I saw that Estados Unidos. That's United. I see. I butchered it completely already. Yeah, just it's just not good. Okay, so we had a heck of a week. Where we had the potential for severe weather. Didn't exactly pan out so well. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? As far as like the going forecast that we had up here, pretty well. I mean, the wording was isolated tornadoes. Now, there is some discussion about some individuals, some YouTube or social media weather entertainers, let's call them, right? Who, no matter what the event, always has to go extreme, historic, something of that nature, right? And here's the thing, right? Um, Not everything's a historic event, right? The way I go about this is pretty simple, right? It's that I create the most realistic forecast, and then if it becomes historic, then we make those adjustments with the observations. To call an event historic ahead of time or worst ever or something of that nature, that naturally leads to what people call hype. And so I think that's what happened. A lot of people got out ahead of themselves and focused way too much on the tornadic aspect of it, not enough on the straight line winds, which we did here, which I did here. I say we in the royal sense. Um, but I think that there are some individuals who are so much trying to get the biggest audience that they're not focusing in on the most accurate way of disseminating the information. And the SPC had some issues struggling with it. And here's the thing with that whole focus and the whole setup is that it was just a matter of instability. If you got the instability, the shear was there, the jet stream dynamics were there, all that stuff was there. But even up to the event, at least for the Northern Mid Atlantic, I was not all that impressed with the instability involved there. So I didn't really drive that aspect all that much. But I did note that if there was going to be a tornado, it would be the best chance would be in eastern Pennsylvania, down towards uh, parts of Delaware, and right around the Delaware River, basically onto the east. So, and unfortunately, that's what kind of happened. But the big story was the straight line wind, so much so that it took out the internet over here and took down a whole bunch of trees around my neighborhood. Actually, blocked the roadway into my neighborhood, which was pretty impressive. So it was definitely some impressive straight line winds. I think Newark had winds up to 70 miles per hour. So, and a lot of that happened late at night, 11, 12 a.m., somewhere in that ballpark, which goes to show you don't let your guard down until the cold front is gone. Once the cold front is gone, then you could say whether or not a severe event busted or not, right? But until then, until you get that squall line to go through, you should wait, hold your horses before you start calling something a bust. It wasn't worthy of live coverage, but certainly it was an impressive severe threat nonetheless. So tonight, the good news. I'm gonna share some good news for you because we had a lot of straight line winds, we had a lot of damage. Here's the good news: there are no major storm threats on the way. It's actually going to be a quiet weather pattern. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a short night. Okay. because there isn't a lot. Now, of course, I'll answer all your questions as I always do. So if it takes me to 9, then it takes me to 9. But I struggle to find a lot of topics to really drive in on tonight. So that's certainly somewhat of good news. Okay, we're going to talk about the temperatures. We're going to talk about the overall pattern, some of the influences going on right now. I do want to let you know there won't be any live chat next week. I'm actually going to be on a business trip. Gotta make that money, and it's a exciting business trip. Looking forward to it, but unfortunately, that means I will not be here to do the live chat like I normally do. So we're gonna take a week off and then come back the first week of April, or is it? Let me check on that because this time of year is always. But let me check on this. Yeah, so it'd actually be on April Fool's Day. We come back on April 1st. Perfect. Uh, so that'd be great. We'll have a lot of jokes, a lot of fun. So that'd be good. So of course, as always, in case you guys are new, there am I, right there. Yay. Um, all questions are answered first with the premium live chat down here. Of course, if you are new to being a premium member, simply go to the premium dashboard, which is right here. So we'll go right to that right now. And see, there's the premium chat dashboard, and there's all the information that you could check out. Yeah, I write a lot. I don't know how I write this much, but I do. And then go to the live chat, which is right here, live coverage room. And away you go. There it is. And there's everyone right there having a good time, getting ready to ask questions and whatnot. So let's dive into what is driving our weather pattern right now. Of course, we always look at the tropical and, of course, the stratosphere. Things are changing on so many levels. Now, first of all, our SOI index, which influences what, or at least tells us what we're expecting with our tropical forcing, is strongly positive. In fact, it's more positive now than it was during the heart of La Nina, which is ironic. A lot of that is driven by what is going on with the MJO. Now, the MJO is moving into phase 7 and 8, which means that the SOI is going to tank pretty soon. Um, what does this mean for this time of year? An active weather pattern. But I keep on seeing individuals talking about snow. It's over, guys. It's done. Stop with the snow maps. For God's sakes, put it away. But this is definitely an active weather pattern, and it means that we're most likely going to see near to above normal precipitation. As we get an El Nino established, which is going to take a couple of months, you're going to see a fundamental change in the evolution of our weather pattern. And that fundamental change is going to be moving out of these drought conditions and moving towards more robust precipitation events and better potential for above normal rainfall. So while that's evolving, you're going to see the subtropical gesturing get more and more active. And you're going to see a better support with it being in phase 8 throughout March and in early April for a trough in the east. Now, unfortunately, for the start of the baseball season, this is probably going to create a little bit of havoc. We'll talk about opening day, by the way, with the Mets and the Phillies. And oh, there's that other team too. Who are they again? The Highlanders? I don't know. Yeah. Some other team in New York. I don't know. We'll take a look at the forecast for all that. I think we're going to go with the Highlanders. That's what they're from now on. That's what they'll be called the rest of the season. They are the Highlanders. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't know baseball history. Now, as far as our El Nino La Nina state here, it's pretty well split. We're between Nino 1.2, we're very, very warm, and Nino 3.4, we're at just about the La Nina status, technically. So we have pretty much a split here. So I usually call this average because in terms of tropical forcing, it's not really driving much of anything. And you could see that pretty nicely here with our sea surface temperature split. If you're not sure, the key way to tell what's going on with tropical forcing is looking at the convection in and around the Central Pacific. So When I do that, what I want to do is look at the rounded date line. If I see convection here, that means my subtropical jet stream is getting more and more amplified. So we're certainly starting to see that factor show up here. Meanwhile, our stratosphere is starting to change as well. We're starting to get a little bit colder. And this is typical because now we're starting to get more direct sunlight onto the northern hemisphere. Now, you might be saying to yourself, Stephen, if you get more direct sunlight, shouldn't you get a warmer stratosphere? You would think that. Overall, yes. Okay, we are warming up overall, but we're going to see more colder anomalies. And the reason why we're going to see more colder anomalies is that with the sun becoming more and more quiet, which means a decline in sunspots gradually, you're going to see more and more of a buildup of ozone. But we're not there yet. So, with more direct impact from the sun, you have more destruction of ozone, which leads to a colder environment. So look for, and we're already starting to see cold pockets starting to show up here, which is going to basically lead to a reduction in our thermal gradient, which is going to lead to a weakening of our polar vortex further, with the QBO moving into a westerly descent, kind of muting the QBO influence as we move through spring, which typically happens in the warm season months. This factor will come back to when we get to the fall and winter, when it has a more of an increasing factor. But what I wanted to show you for the last time before we say goodbye to the QBO is that, as far as its influences at least, is that it's moving out of the easterly phase, which influenced much of our winter, and moving towards a westerly phase, which is usually featuring more of a progressive weather pattern, one that features, you can get a negative NAO, for example, but it tends to break down faster. Drinking just water tonight. Hopefully that saves my voice. We'll see. As far as the polar vortex itself, again, not impressive. I know, there's nothing historic, scary, Godzilla, El Niños, anything of that nature, because it's nonsense. Nonsense. We're moving into a quiet period. I know it doesn't drive a lot of viewership. I know. I get it. I'm not here. I'm not scaring you. You want like massive, crazy storms? It's quiet. It's quiet. Our polar vortex is getting weak, and this is good too because I get actually 7 hours of sleep. So this is important. This is good. This is how I stay useful and beautiful. So you're seeing the polar vortex here is basically moving towards zero. Now, what does this mean this time of year? It doesn't mean Arctic cold. It doesn't mean cold outbreaks. It just means that the polar vortex is naturally weakening. Notice the average line here rapidly declines, right? This means that the polar vortex is going to start to fade away and lose its influence on the 500 millibar pattern. I want to share with you this because I know that, again, there is some stuff going on around here about Arctic blasts and stuff like that. Yes, this does support a progressive cold weather pattern at times. So, for example, and we'll jump right to the 500 millibar pattern here. Again, just to get an overall view of the 500 millibar pattern. Again, you never take any of this verbatim. You're just looking at the overall theme here. And the overall theme here is trough comes in, ridge builds in. Trough comes in, ridge builds in. What am I showing here? I'm showing progressive waves of polar air coming in, giving a shot, exiting. Maybe a cold day for one day, and then we warm up. We had our cold day today. It was like 35 degrees. Right now, we're at 28.9. After that, we warm up. In fact, by the weekend, we're in the 60s and 70s. That's pretty nice, right? But then after that, we get another cold shot where early next week we fall back into the 40s again. But notice this time with this cold shot that comes in, and I'll show you here at 850 millibar temperatures. Okay, here's our current cold shot. Chilly, bad, right? Normally, earlier on in the year, this would support temperatures in the 20s, but today it supports temperatures in the 30s. Why? Higher sun angle. Once we get our next cold shot, after we get a nice warm weekend, it's going to be beautiful. Boom, there's our next cold shot. Not as cold. And notice it moderates faster. Then we moderate again, get nice and warm, right around opening day, by the way, which we'll talk about in a moment. Another cold shot. Again, it shoots in, it clears out just as quickly, and it moderates much faster. So the theme here as we move forward is that we get a cold front, a nice cold shot, a day of temperatures below normal. Then we slowly work our way back up to above normal. Another cold front, another shot of cold air, maybe some severe thunderstorms mixed in there. And then we fall back again to below normal. Then we climb our way back up. During this entire period, if you're going to be looking for frozen precipitation, because I know some of you guys are concerned about that, it's going to be in the higher elevations and it's going to be really, really hit and miss. It's going to be something where, at the back end of a cold front, you'll get a low pressure system or you'll get some antifront precipitation that produces a little bit of snow in the Poconos and Catskills or the Hudson Highlands. That's northwestern New Jersey up through western Connecticut. That will lead to occasionally some slick roadways, but nothing plowable, nothing like that, right? As far as our neck of the woods, some rain, then a chilly day, and this is going to be tough on the growing season. I wouldn't be planting anything just yet. Probably not until mid to late April at the earliest with this type of weather pattern, because you're going to have far too many, and especially if you have very sensitive plants that you want to put out there. If you have something that's hardy, maybe you'll be able to handle this a little bit better. But anything that is overly sensitive to temperatures in the 30s, I'd probably would hold off a bit because I think we still have quite a few mornings still where we can fall below freezing. So that is certainly a factor here. So overall, our pattern is let me just show you, is one that features, well, we're kind of caught in between the very warm air and the very cold air. And one of the things we're going to have to watch out for is backdoor cold fronts via these cold anomalies. And again, I would not be surprised if we see a lot of days where Philadelphia is 75 and and Long Island is 42. That is just the way that this spring is setting up. And that is what I am seeing here. Current observations, not much going on. High pressures in control. It's absolutely beautiful out there. Again, infrared satellite picture, pretty quiet. Wonderful thing to see. As far as our 500 millibar pattern, notice everything's moving along very progressively. One cold front after the other. Cold front comes in, we get a cold shot, we warm right back up. Very progressive, no major storms, no rainstorms. Now, one thing that the model guidance is trying to show here towards early April is the potential here for more of a trough in the west. I'm not buying this aspect this far just yet. Again, we're seeing something like this here, a little bit more of a trough. I think that this might be a little bit too overdone here, okay, based on what we're seeing with the MJO. But perhaps more of a zonal pattern. We'll have to keep an eye on this ridge. One thing that keeps on showing up in all the guidance is continuation of below normal heights in the south of Greenland. So maybe more of a backdoor cold front type scenario for us that we're going to continue to keep an eye on. But I think this might be a little bit too overstated here. So we'll watch to see whether or not that plays out. What I would want to see for this to verify is the MJO moving into a neutral state rather than phase 8. If that happens, then this happens. If we stay in phase 8, then I think what happens is that this trough is more back here, more of a ridge here, trough here. Okay, so basically this gets shifted a bit because if the MJO is in phase 8, then this whole trough should be out here. You get this ridge here and another trough out here to go along with this trough here in the polar jet stream. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. As far as any major precipitation events, again, nothing really standing out. But let's talk about what everyone's going to ask. What about opening day for baseball next week? Right around Thursday. Well, first of all, let's talk about the weekend. It is going to be pretty nice until we get to, let's see, Friday night to Saturday morning. We get a few showers, and not that big of a deal. is going to be beautiful on Saturday. Temperatures in the 60s for most locations. Sunday's even better. Temperatures in the 70s. Then our next strong cold front moves through with some showers Sunday night and Monday morning. Again, not too bad. A little bit chilly on Monday morning. And then for opening day on Thursday, where, by the way, for some reason, Major League Baseball has taken upon themselves to ruin opening day by not allowing the Mets to be on SNY. I have to deal with NBC, for God's sakes. I mean, come on. What is opening day? Every team should have their own broadcasting crew, and it should be treated like a holiday. No one should have any type of national broadcasting. Even the Dodgers. The Dodgers got screwed over with this too. I know. I'm just saying it's not fair. But anyway, as far as the Mets game, it looks like it's going to be pretty quiet. Temperatures in the 50s, maybe mid 50s, mid to upper 50s. Phillies is going to be a little bit later in the afternoon, and they're going to be in the lower 60s. Now the Highlanders, let's see where they are going to be at. I didn't get a chance to take a look at them because they're not really all that important. Um, but it's important to at least share the information and make sure that we have the proper information. They're actually going to be playing on Wednesday, and are they playing? Are they going on that? I think so. Yeah. Well, I'll be damned. They're going to be playing. They're going to be playing the first game of the season. New York Giants, New York Giants. Oh my God, the Highlanders versus the San Francisco Giants, in San Francisco. So let's see what that looks like on that Wednesday. And it's quiet, so they shouldn't have any problem with the weather, and probably Judge will strike out 3 or 4 times, so that works. But the Highlanders will be able to do opening day just fine. And all of a sudden, my nose is starting to run. What is wrong with me? It's these allergies. The allergies are back. You're battling allergies too yourself, right? Yeah. So now all of a sudden, my nose is running. Right, right. It's just par spring. What are you gonna do? Um, yeah, yeah. That's pretty much it. So again, good news. No major storms. Now, one thing I do want to share is my bracket for the NCAA. And I love the NCAA, not because of the games or the stories of the players or anything of that nature. It's that it is the one time a year where everybody makes these predictions. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so it is that one time a year where everyone makes predictions about who's going to win, who's going to lose, and all that good stuff. And I get to watch you guys forecast because it is a forecast in a way of who's going to win and lose. Now, the way I made my bracket was very unique. It's something that has won me many a championships in terms of picks. Is that with my madness? I don't, I don't care about who's the best player. I don't care about stats. It's very simple. Which mascot could beat up the other mascot? That's what I go by. And it has actually won me several pots in the past. So this works very well, much to the anger of many individuals who go through all these stats and they study the teams and go over films and watch all the late night games on the West Coast. And I just pick which mascot's going to beat up the other mascot. So I'm going to go with Connecticut winning it all. Why? I don't know. I just think that Connecticut's going to pull it off. Why? Just a guess. Just a guess. And the score is going to be 87, 86. Why? I don't know. It just popped up. Why not? I think Kentucky's going to have a good run. Why? Kentucky Fried Chicken. That works. That's always a good thing to pick. Arizona should have a really good run. Why? I think Arizona Heat is better than Villanova. Why? I don't know. But it's going to be fun to see whether I was right or not. But you guys especially those who like to critique weather forecasts, I want to see how well you guys do because this is all chance. I mean, you don't know whether a guy is going to come in and he gets a cramp, you know, or what if he gets the flu, you know, or what if someone gets the yips and they just start throwing the ball in the stands for no apparent reason? I don't know. You know, what if someone misses the game because they failed their English exam? It's possible. It's college, you know. So you got all these wild cards that you never know. What if while going to the court, they are attacked by a llama? I don't know. It could happen. It's college basketball. Anything's happening. You know, you never know. Wild animals get loose, whatever. So anything's happening. I picked Gonzaga to go pretty far because I like the name. It's just fun to say, Gonzaga. You know, I don't know if they're good or not. I've heard of them. You know, they tend to be, you know, around quite a bit. But just saying the word Gonzaga, it just sounds like something that like a superhero would say, and then they get superpowers. So I went with that quite a bit. Michigan, why? Because Lake Michigan, you know, the lake could drown any of these guys. So there you go. You know, so these are my picks. I think this is going to work out really well. Um, and Duke, of course, Duke can go pretty far, but again, Duke loses to Connecticut because Connecticut's angry. So there we go. So those are my picks. So I hope you enjoy them. And we'll see how well I do. Hopefully you guys do well too. And remember, whichever mascot is stronger, that's the one that's going to win. That's what matters the most. So with that, let's see what questions we have here the for our premium members. We'll scroll right back here. Okay, we're doing good tonight. All right, all right. So let's see here. Pretty soon we'll be at that time of year when the GFS spins up Phantom Monster Hurricanes 300 hours out, and that's when we'll see the next swing of models move away from severe thunderstorms being the worst ever and destroying whole cities, and this changes everything nonsense to hurricanes out in the Atlantic with big notices about this changes everything as well. Or my favorite category, 6. So now this is going to be fun. Great line, entertainer. Yes. Calling everything historic also diminishes the impact of warning of something potentially being historic when it actually may be, resulting in people not taking warnings seriously. Oh, this is a problem. You're absolutely right. For example, calling everything potentially historic flooding. Often enough, people will ignore warnings about storms like Ida. See, here's the thing. In my opinion, just tell me that there could be flooding. I don't need to know anything about how historic it is or not, just from a homeowner's point of view. If you say there's flooding, I don't need to have it being historic. I just need to know that there's a chance that I'm going to lose my Parcheesi game in the basement. So I got to protect it, right? So yeah, well, there's no reason to call everything historic. Do the historic stuff after the analysis. There's no reason to go crazy and make those unless you're trying to drive traffic. Now, if you're trying to drive traffic, then that's a different story. And that reminds me, for all you guys on social media, on Twitch, YouTube, X, first of all, thank you for watching. And second of all, please like, share, and subscribe. It actually helps the channels quite a bit. Was there a confirmation for an NWS for tornado warning the other day? I believe there were. I saw on X a couple of confirmations. Let me go and see if I can find that information real fast on X here. Let's see. I think I shared it, in fact. Here we are. Yes. A survey has been completed. We have confirmed 2 tornadoes that occurred on Monday, March 16th. Here's a look at their results. Let's click on it. Let's see here. The one in Caroline County, Maryland, at 10:26 to 10:29 p.m. It was an EF1 with 90 to 100 mile per hour winds, length of a little under a mile, 0.9. Width was 250 yards. That's pretty good. Right? It marched right across. And then the other one was in Kent County, Delaware. Again, this was on March 16th from 10:48 to 10:49, so around the same time period. I wonder if it's with the same cell. It was an EF1 as well, 90 to 100 miles per hour. The length was 0.7 miles, so a little over 2/3 of a mile, and the max width was 75 yards. So that was pretty. No deaths, no injuries, nothing like that, but they were confirmed. So there we have it. With our system. All right. So let's see what else we have here from the premium members. Straight line winds can be massive destruction. Yes, just ask my neighbors down the street. They're definitely true. As anyone who has experienced the direction can confirm, spring solar equinox is a good time for auroras if the sun cooperates and gives us some solar activity. Yeah, possibly. That is true. It's possible. Heard rumors the next legendary Godzilla and Kong movies coming in 2027. Yes, will face Space Godzilla. I've heard this as well. Now, I don't know how they're going to pull it off because the pricing from Toho to have Space Godzilla in a movie is awfully expensive. So I don't know whether or not it's actually Space Godzilla or something of that. What I do know is that we already know what the best picture of the year is going to be for 2027. Okay. And I heard that they had an Academy Awards or something a couple days ago. Oh, it was on Sunday. Okay. So look, none of these awards matter until some major corrections are made in the Academy Awards, in which that every year that there was a Godzilla movie, it should have been Best Picture of the Year. Okay. I'm just saying it should have been. If not, I mean, clearly. I mean, look, let's be serious here, right? Who remembers who was in Gone with the Wind? No one cares. No one, they're dead. But what everyone remembers? Godzilla. It's in every pop culture. I know, I'm going to be getting there. I'll be getting there. Why is there incredible heat on the West Coast? Because there's a strong ridge. All right. The reason why we're so cool is because we got a trough. There's a pretty strong ridge, and with the ridge, especially over a desert, you allow for that heat to rebuild on itself, and so the heat gets worse and worse and worse. So you're seeing, there we go. So you have this ridge here, and the problem with the ridge around the west, especially the desert southwest, is that the heat helps to build the heights. Then the heights builds up the heat. And so it kind of feeds back on itself, much like what we have here in the summer. So that's why we're seeing some pretty impressive heat setting up around that neck of the woods. Let's see, 31 degrees in Queens. Yes, it is. Yankees were put on Netflix for opening day. Yep. Are you freaking serious? Oh my God. That's just now you need Yes, Netflix, and Amazon to watch the Highlanders. So that's right. In order to watch the Highlanders this year, you need to watch Yes, Netflix, and Amazon. That's insane. That is crazy. And Apple TV and Peacock as well. All these platforms, like it's ridiculous. Wow. They're screwing you guys. Yeah, well, see, there are times when I'm happy that the Mets are bad because really they don't get put on a lot of these platforms. But when they get good, I'm like, yeah, they're great. And then I can't watch them because they're on all these damn different platforms. Well, I figure out a way, but still, this is why I just listen to the radio. Won't be long before each game on the World Series is on a different streaming service. You know they're going to be doing that with the NFL, by the way. They're already starting that. I have soccer 9 a.m. on Saturday. Any rain at that time? Let's see here. I want to be specific here. Saturday morning. No, you should be good by 9. The grass is going to be a bit wet though. You're definitely gonna have to be concerned about some of the wet grass, but it won't be raining. In fact, you'll be clearing out. I'm starting on April 1st. I'm starting on April 1st. How is it looking for the month of April for fishing? You're gonna have some some chilly days mixed in there, but definitely much better than what you saw in March. So I think you'll be able to get out there plenty of times, but there will be some chilly mornings mixed in there. Uh, can the desert southwest ridge be persistent enough to impact the overall pattern so as to influence the entire weather pattern from the Pacific to the Atlantic? I don't think we're there yet. It's something I'm definitely watching. Not that the ridge, but what's causing the ridge is the setup of the MJO, right, being in phase 8. And what I'm going to be watching as El Nino develops, does our MJO get locked into phase 7 and 8? which means that the ridge gets locked over the west and we get a persistent trough, which leads us to featuring more below normal summer type temperatures and above normal precipitation. So that's something I'm definitely watching. For the NFL, each quarter of the Super Bowl will be on a different streaming service. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Let's see what we got on social media. We'll go straight to YouTube. Let's see what we got here. We got plenty of good questions. And of course, the Spanish questions are always fun. It's gibberish. We're gonna have a sandstorm in the ocean. Um, let's see. Uh, he wants to know why dust storms happen in the desert. Oh, well because you have very dry air, right? And that dry air builds up a lot of dust, and then you have different dust storms are driven by strong winds. The sand and dust storm. What does a sandstorm in the desert mean? In the desert, sandstorms always occur. Okay, so here's the basic thing, right? A sandstorm is really nothing more than a strong windstorm, right? So let's say yesterday when we had very strong winds, right? All right, and you have persistent strong winds because of a pressure gradient. That leads, and then you have a lot of sand, right? So the sand is picked up by the strong winds and it billows up. And this can be driven by, in terms of some deserts, you have a lot of strong heating. That heating causes rising air. Rising air causes a pressure difference, which causes a strong wind, which in turn can lead to picking up that sand and driving it east or west, leading to a sandstorm, depending on how your dry line sets up. So that's one way. Another way is just to have a strong low pressure system. This is the one that threw me. Read the logistics. Sandstorms always occur in the desert. You don't have to read it. No, they don't. They don't occur in Georgia. Or no, in order to have a sandstorm, you have to have sand, which really isn't that prevalent in Georgia. And it's also not the north, and it's just all no. Look for a desert. There you go. Desert Southwest, Texas, Texas Panhandle. Yeah. I want to know if the sandstorms always occur in the desert, or are they always they typically occur in the desert. Yeah. Because you gotta have the sand. I have a PSAT test tomorrow. I'm a sophomore. That would be a good score. There you go. Yeah, that's true. I heard those tests are tough. Any recommendations on books about synoptic meteorology? Okay, I have a couple of options. Um, Here, hold it. Let me see here. You want to get Holton. An Introduction to Dynamic Meteorology. You definitely want that one. Uh, Northeast Snowstorms by Cosin and Mussolini. Um, Atmospheric Circulations by Guam. And again, Amazon actually has a lot of good books on synoptic meteorology. So I definitely would suggest that. So there's that. And also check out the American Meteorological Society, has a lot of great synoptic books as well. Um, Looking forward to an SNO MJO STT update. Already did that. I agree, it is over. No more cold. Well, we still have cold. We're still going to be dealing with cold, unfortunately. So protect your plants. Try to. I understand the frustration. Yep. So why didn't the tornado thing pan out? Well, the reason why is that let's see here. The reason why is because we didn't maximize the instability in the atmosphere. And the I was very, very much against the driving narrative for the northern mid-Atlantic because all the model guidance really didn't feature a very impressive cape. You had at most 500 joules per kilogram, which really isn't all that impressive. The wind shear certainly was. So with the Malgines, you had about really over Virginia, maybe 1,500 joules per kilogram. So that should have been the first warning sign right there to stay away from excessive tornadoes, certainly isolated tornadoes. That would have been pretty fair. But you really just didn't have the instability in play. And part of that problem, and one of the things I noticed I put in the forecast, I mentioned this to premium members, you guys heard on the videos, that the showers and thunderstorms in the morning would have a big impact on whether or not we reach our instability. If we had a lot of low clouds hanging around and we didn't get a lot of sunshine in the late morning and early afternoon, then you didn't have enough instability to break the cap, and then you just pretty much wait for the squall line later on in the evening. And that's essentially what happened. And even further south, the instability just wasn't all that impressive. If a Nino takes a while to get going and the QBO becomes negative before that, what would that mean for the tropics in June and July? Well, the QBO wouldn't matter at all for the tropics, especially during the middle of the top of the peak of the warm season. QBO really impacts your weather pattern more in the cold season, so fall and winter. So it really wouldn't have a factor. If El Nino is delayed, then you have a little bit more favorable environment for tropics. But even if it's delayed, it's still going to inhibit the height of the hurricane season in August and September and October. So there's still that. Speaking of awards, but one which actually means something. Let's see. Who are your preseason picks for the NL Cy Young MVP and Rookie of the Year? Let's see here. That's a tough one. Let me think here. Let me think. Let me think. Um, okay. Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with McLean. Um, NL Cy Young, McLean. Rookie of, seriously, MVP, Soto. So there we go. There you go. Those are my picks. Um, if Harry Rose isn't calling the Mets game, I don't want to hear anyone else. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes and no, because the whole thing is that he's getting up there in age, so I'm a little bit more lenient on that, but I just want a Mets centric broadcast, especially for opening day. Why was the weather forecast so bad in the storms this past week? It wasn't bad for my forecast was actually pretty damn good. I don't mean to pat myself on the back, but it was pretty damn good. Hey, look, I blame myself quite a bit when it's bad. When it's good, I want to say, hey, this was good. The forecast was good. Okay. Um, I think some people got way ahead of themselves with the tornado threat. We need to focus on what is the overall theme. Okay, prepare for severe weather, obviously. Prepare for the potential for thunderstorms that are capable of X, Y, and Z. Say that, historic event or anything of that nature. I think that's the problem. I think the messaging was the problem, not the forecast. The SPC forecast, I think, was pretty reasonable given the environment. What would be a good day to travel from Long Island to Maine? Saturday. Saturday's a good day. You could probably do Friday if you leave in the morning. So yeah, I mean, really, there's no major weather impacts that inhibit you traveling from Long Island to Maine. No snow, no ice, no nothing like that. Let me just jump on some of these questions here. What do we got on Facebook here? X, what is happening with the Gulf Stream? Is it weakening? No. Okay. What impacts will have on our weather? Well, all right. First of all, the Gulf Stream. I'll start the baseball updates, by the way, on opening day. So actually, the day before opening day. So for the Yankees, it would be on Tuesday, and for the Mets and Phillies, I'll probably do the update on Tuesday and then re-update it again on Wednesday morning, and so on and so forth. As far as the Gulf Stream is perfectly fine. Sometimes the Gulf Stream shifts a little bit west or east, depending on the prevailing winds that you have. For example, one winter where we have persistent easterly winds, The Gulf Stream actually pushed a little bit closer to the coast, but it's not a huge deviation. Excuse me. Um, so we don't have that. The Gulf Stream is perfectly fine though. There's nothing weakening it, hurting it, destroying it. There's nothing. There's nothing like that. You might have heard about the AMOC weakening, and there is data to support that. But as far as the impact, we're talking about decades out if it happens at all. Um, and oh, by the way, the AMOC, which is basically the circulation in the Atlantic, it has declined before, it has collapsed before, that it's a natural part of the climate of seeing the collapse. Okay. Typically what happens is that you have melting around Greenland, around the ice caps, and that melting puts in fresh water, which screws up the salt content in the ocean, which messes the whole circulation. So what happens is that it collapses. Then when it collapses, then you have a rebuilding of the glaciers over Canada and over Greenland and even Iceland. And then the cycle restarts all over again because then you refreeze a lot of the fresh water and you become more salty again. So it's a natural process. Could we be messing around with it? Possibly. Are we having any impacts immediately? No. This is decades and decades out. So maybe 50, 60 years out. Um, but yeah, overall, we're going to have a nice weekend. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. Why did Tex Antonio get fired from Channel 7? I have no idea. I don't know who that is. Why did the get 30 inches of snow the other day in Greenland? Well, that's because our severe weather gave a blizzard to the Great Lakes. And the whole thing around Green Bay is that not only do you get synoptic snow, but then you get lake enhancement from that, right? So you get a northeasterly wind off of one of the Great Lakes, like let's see here, Lake Michigan, I believe. And as a result, you can really enhance your snowfall. So that doesn't surprise me. Second largest in the history, only behind the blizzard of 1888. Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. You get the right wind coming in into Green Bay, uh, combined with the synoptic influence. Doesn't surprise me one bit. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, in fact. Seems to me that the eye candy of the high level of shear, yes, this is good. The eye candy of the high level of shear led some to discount other factors such as lack of instability. I agree. I definitely think that people focus way too much on the shear, which if you had the instability in the first place, then you could certainly make um, a better idea on the severe weather and the potential for tornadoes. But you need the first step. You need the instability first. If you got the instability, then you get the rest. Little Ice Age was suspected to be caused by AMOC collapse. There was a great lack of motor vehicles and industrial plants back then. Well, that is true. Okay. Actually, the low ice age was caused by volcanic eruption, right? Um, which would have influenced the AMOC indirectly eventually, with the way that it evolved. But the low ice age primarily was driven by volcanic activity, um, not the AMOC directly. But there has been collapses before. There will be collapses again. Uh, we probably shouldn't egg it on, so to speak. Probably not a good idea. But other than that, let's see if we have anything here. Oh yeah. Hey, Philly, how did your test go? Philly weather. How did your test go? I'm sure he aced it, but we all know that. But just checking in on him on Twitch. Um, he said thanks, but let us know how you did. You know, I'm sure he aced it. Yes, we were. Only good things. Let's see here. We have people here on Facebook. Nothing new though. No questions. I think we're caught up. Look at that. And it's 8:50. So hey, we went. See, my rants worked out. Yes, I just don't want these questions to get lost. They won't get lost. I have many tangents. I can go on tangents for days. Well, see, here's the thing: is that my tangents are about something that is. Yes, yeah, people frustrate you. That is true. That's true. Or what people do that we don't even know. Here's the thing, right? Here's what if I was commissioner of baseball, right? Here's my thing, right? Opening day should be treated. You have an opportunity here as a league president or whatever, or commissioner, that it's treated almost like a holiday. So don't screw with the fans. Keep all the games on, or if you have, you can have them on national, and then just focus your broadcast with the local team. Like I don't want to hear some national team talk about my Mets. They don't even know what the heck they're talking about. I want to hear Gary, Keith, and Ron. That's what I want to hear on opening day. And I think that anyone that disagrees with that should be thrown into a volcano. That is what I think. I think that the person the person that made that decision should be thrown into a volcano. Yeah. What caused the blizzard of 1888? Whoa. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I can't really go and point out like, oh, well, the MJO was this or something of that nature. I mean, we really didn't have the data. The blizzard of 1888 was a combination of a perfectly timed Arctic air mass dropping in and interacting with the subtropical jet stream to spawn a low pressure system that initially was producing rain, and then as the cold built in, the low pressure system intensified. So what I suspect happened is that you most likely had a year where you had a transitioning Ensno event, probably a favorable MJO event, but I'm just speculating here. Most likely, you had either a weakening polar vortex or a period where you had just enough high latitude blocking to support an Arctic air mass to settle in while there was a low pressure system on the coastal plain. So there's a possibility, maybe more. It was like a very weak El Nino, possibly, and that would allow your low pressure system to be sitting around the Gulf Coast, interacting with the Arctic air, plenty of moisture riding up the coast. Boom, there's your blizzard. But that's just a guess. Let's see. I'm so sick of social media. And yeah, you know the problem with social media with when it comes to climate, I don't know about anything else, but everything's doom scrolling, right? It's never like you never hear like, oh, the climate's going to be just fine. Like you never hear anything positive about the future. Everything, and this isn't new. This is not something new. All right. I tell you, this is how you know it's not new. The way that people thought about this. The version of social media back when I grew up was movies. Now, try to find other than Star Trek, every other movie based in the future was based around the idea of complete all hell breaking loose, like an apocalypse or post-apocalypse, dystopian setting. Nothing of like there was never a movie like, hey, we're in the future and there's all this great food and we have great food and and we can go down the street and we can get a milkshake if we want, and everyone's fine, and there's great music, and you can watch movies all the time. Like the future movies back in the 80s and 90s was nothing like this, right? Like what we have right now. Like what we have right now, we can watch movies whenever we want, right? We can go and buy food. We can order from a website and have it dropped off to our house right now, right? We could do that. Whereas all the movies in the 80s and 90s had androids and people getting shot by machines, or the Terminator killing everybody, or hell breaking loose, or acid rain. That was a big thing. The Toxic Avenger in the future, all that stuff. Even Jason Voorhees in the future was just killing people on space stations and stuff. Nothing ever positive, right? So now instead of movies, now it's social media. And again, it's the same thing. It's always the end of the world. We're all going to die. The world's going to turn into Venus, all this stuff. In reality, probably some bad things are going to happen and some good things too, and we'll survive. and we'll adapt. And we'll find better ways to do energy and all that good stuff. And most likely, I'll be able to watch baseball on like a hologram or something like that. That's what's going to happen. You seem like a guy who plays the saxophone. Not sure why do you? Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah, actually I did. I did play the saxophone when, when I was in middle school, and I think I made my parents deaf. Um, I did very badly, but I still have it. I could play it. I could play. I am very good at playing holiday tunes. I'm very good at that. Jingle bells. I could do jingle bells. So I'm very good at that. Did you do a live chat in 1888? Yes. If I was alive, I would have. If we had that, sure. Just a little bit. I'm not that old, for God's sakes. Jesus. There was quite a few volcanic eruptions in 1888 as well as 1880s in general. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in 1883, Krakatoa, that was one of the major ones. Mount Bandi, yes. There were several. So there you go. Let's see here. I played in middle school too. I could only play three blind mice. I played three blind mice. I did that. I did that very, very well. Actually, I did that and I did choir. I had a very low voice. I was I was playing I was baritone. I still am. I can still pull it off at times. And I played the saxophone. So I was very musical, which is ironic because I have no rhythm. So keyboard. Nice. I did well, Mary had a little lamb, but I ate it. So there we go. If you know, you know. If you know where that's from, you know. If you get that reference, you had a good childhood. There you go. Let's see here. So I think we answered all the questions. Look at that. How does a volcano in Japan lower temperatures in New Jersey? Ah, well, all right. So if the volcano is strong enough, okay, so it just can't just be a regular eruption. If you get enough of debris in the stratosphere and the lower in the upper troposphere, then that eventually starts to lower the amount of sunlight that gets into our atmosphere. So it kind of shields it off, right? That causes cooling. Now, this doesn't happen like tomorrow. It happens over time. So the volcano erupts, it disperses into the atmosphere. The reason why Japan is so important is that you can get it up into the Arctic and get it up into the polar jet stream and disperse much faster and get it spread out over the northern hemisphere, and that allows for cooling of the earth and cascades down towards New Jersey. But this doesn't happen like tomorrow, right? If an eruption happened today, we'd probably start feeling the impacts a couple of months later in terms of our temperatures. Played alto sax, but switched to guitar in 1978. Chicks love guitars. You know what? Saxophone's pretty big in the 90s. You know why? 80s too. 80s too. Absolutely. Yep. I wanted to play an instrument, so we took a test. I actually wanted to do the drums. They're like, no, 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 you do the saxophone. So, well, it is 8:58. I think that's pretty close to closing it out. We had a really good chat. And yeah, I think we got everything else done. Yeah, yeah, everything's good on X. So, with that, we're going to close it out. Now, again, just a reminder, we will not be having live chat next week, but we will be back on April 1st. No, that's not a joke. It's true. We will be back for April 1st, and we'll discuss all sorts of fun things like what's going on with meteorology, what other nonsense is being spread. We'll answer those questions. And in the meantime, as always, whether you're watching the Highlanders or the next World Series champion New York Mets, stay safe out there.